Hey everybody, how y'all doing? This is a response video going out to David, who did a response video to somebody else. Your kids were completely adorable, but there were some points I thought that you might have missed, but I also had a question about one of them, so wanted to ask. I couldn't tell if you were trying to highlight that you're saying that the nature and the inclination of a child is towards goodness, I think. But to me, it more really sounded like you were saying tabula rasa, and I was really surprised by that. Because, tabula rasa was totally done away with by, 1972. I think the first book that I remember that really, was the monumental seminal book that took that out and took it apart was Your Child's Self-Esteem by Dorothy Corkhill Briggs. And that one, yeah, it blows it away because that's not it at all. There were three different sort of ideas that I had, and so I'll just go through each one of them, highlight them. One of them had to do with child development and thinking stages at different ages. The 5 to 8-year-olds and the 8 to 11-year-olds are going to have that black and white and concrete thinking. They're very interested in rules, and that rules will be adhered to. So when those kids are coming up there, they're expecting a specific response, and when they don't get it, that's why, and the older the ones the kids were, they are more firm in understanding what the rule is, the rules of engagement, so they were more irritated, okay? But when you get to the 12-year-olds, all the way through teenagers, they are no longer, the rule reminders, as it were, they are the rule enforcers. And if you notice that teenager, what was he doing there at the trunk or treat? He not only was saying what the rule was, but he was insisting that be adhered to. So that's what I mean when I say the enforcer. So that's a lot of what I think was going on in his video. It had nothing to do with whether someone was generous or not. I think the unscientific survey of your kids, who are completely adorable, is not admissible. Because you're leading the witness, first of all. They're wanting to show off and say the right answer to you because they want to please you. And they're on camera, and they want to please mom too. If you really want to know the personality of your children, go watch them when they don't think you're watching them, like at a party or something, and you'll be surprised. Maybe it will confirm it, maybe it will, change your idea of what exactly are they like, And remember that kids sometimes they're acting on a scarcity principle. So a lot of times they're only giving that which will benefit them. It's not from an altruistic place at all. But back to the decision making, there's sort of a decision that's made by children, and it's been highlighted that maybe between the ages of 8 and 10, that they sort of have collected an idea of how they're going to be viewed in society, and how they want to be viewed in society, and that the rest of their life is either, exceeding that, self-perception that they had at that age, or, below that level of it. But that as far as they know who they are class-wise, they know who they are, different ways that in society they're either going to be, funneled in this direction or that, and because that's really set at that age, the only thing that changes that is things like antisocial personality, borderline disorder, your narcissistic personalities. Those people will not be reacting in the same ways because they just don't have the capacity for it in the same direction. But the thing that really surprised me was when you basically said that how someone is raised is going to reflect in the child's actions. That is incredibly not true at all. And I know that for several reasons. One is I worked as a psych tech, and I was in helping, it was like a rehab transitional unit sort of a place. So half the facility was, parolees, and so they were fulfilling their, after jail time, they were coming there, prison time really, they were coming there, and they would transition back into society. And the other half, were either mentally ill or mentally incapacitated or physically incapacitated. And when the parents of them or their friends would come, it was amazing to see how no matter what the parent had done, the child had already made their decision for themselves, who they were and how they were going to do whatever it is that was most important to them. And it had incredibly little to do with what their parents had done, because people can grow up with so many opportunities and they never take advantage of them. So yeah, that I don't think is a good marker. And then, I sort of was thinking, as far as like the Christian model is of like, Jesus as a Christian model or something, I guess I could say, that you were saying, that how that person's raised. Well, then how would you account for Adam and Eve? It's like, how were they raised and how did they make their own decisions and really mess it up? And there they had the most perfect father and he couldn't even raise them right. I mean, no. So I'd be interested to hear back what you think. And thanks for showing your precious children. Oh my gosh, I love them. And thanks a lot. Take care. Peace.